Dave Rose is with us. Coach, Tiki and Tierney, how are you today, buddy?
I'm good, guys. How are you guys doing?
We're doing great, man. What is the recipe? Because I said this to Tiki before, and I want to make sure I have the stat right. I think in your last 11 games, you've beaten them 4 times, and over that same period, the entire West Coast Conference is 4-66 against Gonzaga. So what's up, man? How do you have their potion?
Yeah, well, it's really kind of disheartening when you say that in the last 15 times we've played them, we've only beat them 4 times.
It's a good attitude. I like that.
That's kind of how I feel. That we've had a little run up there. They beat us three in a row at our place, and they beat us twice in the conference tournament. So, it was a special night though, and our guys deserved the win. I mean, we played well. We hung in there. We got down 18-2, and they were playing so well. Just the night 2 nights before at San Diego, they had shot 63% or some ridiculous number from the field, and beat them at their place bad, in a place that's it's hard for us to win there. I know they're at San Diego, but anyways, I just feel like the timing has been good for us. The 3 times we've been up there, it was senior night a couple of years ago, and they were 17-0 in league. And you know how hard it is to go undefeated in league and go undefeated at home?
Yeah.
I mean, it is really hard. You ask any coach about that who's been through it, and those games, you look at Bill Self last night, trying to win a senior night at home. There's some interesting things about certain situations in this game with young guys, college kids.
Mm-hmm.
So the timing's been good. We got up there 2 years ago, and they had been beat for the first time in non-conference ever in the Kennel, and they've been beat twice, I think, maybe 3 times. Arizona got them, and somebody else got them, and then we came in early in league, and they just hadn't found themselves yet. And then there's so much pressure on them the other night, just trying to be undefeated at home, trying to win a senior night, trying to go undefeated in conference, trying to go undefeated for the whole season. I just thought that if we could get ahead late, that it would be interesting to see how it finished.
Well, Coach, you talk about getting ahead late, but early on, and you mentioned this, it was 18-2.
It's ugly.
I mean, Gonzaga's rolling the WCC. They win by 30 points. How did you turn that? And at least what was the message to help turn that for your squad?
Well, I think we just had some individual guys that stepped up. T.J. Haas made 3 threes, just kind of individual.
Yeah. Step
back, make a shot. Elijah got the lid off the basket for us and hit a 3 in the corner, and then Eric Mika did a great job of just pounding the ball around and getting it in and getting to the foul line. But they helped us a little bit too. We fouled them, and they missed a lot of free throws, and the fact that we got it back to 3 after being down 18-2, then we go in the locker room at halftime down 6, that was the majority of what we talked about. That the fact that we just dominated these guys on their home floor for the last 8 minutes of the half. Let's go do it. We can do that and see. We wanted to win the first 4 minutes. We didn't. We tied it. It was even after the first 4 minutes. The next 4 minutes they got us a couple. Then that next 4 minutes we dug into them and actually got it close, and then took the lead with about 8 minutes to go, and then it was back and forth,
Dave Rose with us here, the BYU head coach. Obviously a huge one against the Zags. That looks good on the resume, and you know that it's resume time right now,
yeah.
Coach. There's no doubt about that.
How much are you thinking about that, Coach? Because
every day.
You kind of have to. You got the requisite number of wins, so to speak. The big win over, obviously, the previous number 1 in Gonzaga. But do you think about the bubble that you're kind of sitting on?
For us, I think that we understand that we've got to go down and win 3 games to have a real legitimate shot at getting in the tournament. It's it's just the opportunity to increase your wins, and you increase your numbers. And we're going to play a top 150 team, and then if we win that, we'll probably play 2 top 25 teams. But we've been around doing this a long time, and things are kind of shifting from. Who's going to get those last 4 or 5, invitations in there. And so I just feel really confident in our guys, and hopefully we can win. And if we win our way in, then we'll have a great start to March.
Coach, no disrespect to some of the other teams in the conference, but there's obviously, some teams that are weighing down RPI, et cetera. And I know you know this, but obviously you get a chance early in the season to schedule some some power conferences and to bolster the RPI, maybe clip a few and get a couple of sweet bullet point wins on the resume. How much has that? I know you played at USC as well, and you lost a tight one there. But how important is that, and how much do you actually plan in advance on a yearly basis to make sure that you got, 2 or 3 of those games that could catch the attention of the committee?
Yeah, scheduling is so vital. I mean, the 3 things that every day, obviously, we're trying to get our players better, and then we're trying to recruit better players. But then scheduling is right there in what we do every day. I think that, and it's hard. It's hard for a guy in our position to actually get guys to want to come and play a home and home series because they got to. We'll go to their place, but eventually they got to come back here, and that's not really appealing. It's appealing to the guy scheduling. It's not appealing to the head coach when he takes it to him. And so we get a lot of almost. But when we do get them, we're in a tournament, an exempt tournament every year. And we got Louisville in North Carolina in Vegas a few years ago. We beat Louisville and then played Carolina in the finals of that. And so those are things that we can hit and miss. Next year, I think we're going to Brooklyn, and hopefully we get a couple power teams back there.
At the Barclays Center.
Yeah,
nice.
Yeah.
That'd be cool. We're right here.
Yeah, about 3 years ago, I think, and played Notre Dame and Florida State out there. So it's what we do. We try to play as many home games as we can, but we play a lot of neutral court games, a lot of road games, in the preseason.
Coach, I know you got there in 2005, which is the same time as Bronco Mendenhall, the football coach, who's now coaching at my alma mater at the University of Virginia. But I remember having conversations with him about, how he recruited players to BYU, and it was all about buying into not only the mission but the purpose of being at BYU. Is that a challenge for you, especially with the way that college basketball has evolved over the years, to get the kids to come to BYU, as you mentioned, recruiting?
Well, for me, I don't look at it, as a negative. I look at it as a real positive because we have a built-in recruiting base of kids that grow up wanting to come here. Hopefully they're good enough, and they can compete on a national stage. But, that's a tough thing everywhere you go is to find, where your kid's going to come from. And our base is pretty good. We just got to convince them that this is the place for them to come. The hard thing is to manage their missions when they leave and when they come back. Kids, for the majority of them, plan it, and they pretty much stick to their plan. But every once in a while, a kid will come and not plan on going, and then he comes in after his freshman year, decides he wants to go. Other times, you get a kid that's planning on going, and then things change, and he says, "You know what? I think I don't want to go," and then you're 14 or 15 scholarships into the next year, and you're trying to figure out how to make that work. So
that's such a unique challenge, Coach.
That's probably the most interesting, challenge of it. And every year it seems like, at least for the last 4 years, we've had a new team. We've had maybe 1 or 2 guys returning, and then a new team. This year, we're starting 5 underclassmen. I plan on having them all back if guys don't transfer. I mean, the spring is just unbelievable nowadays. And
it's changed. You're right.
What kids want to do. But if this core of guys stay around for a year or 2, then it's going to be similar to how it was back in 2010 and 11 when I had 4 or 5 guys returning that had played and really contributed, and we can grow on that the next year.
You still talk to Jimmer, by the way?
Yeah, I talked to Jimmer the other day. He texted me after the big win, and they just had a baby. He and Whitney had a little baby, and so
little girl. Yeah,
that's their first.
Yeah, and, I know.
He's pouring in points, man. That dude, he can really score. I'm telling you. People ask me for the last 6 years since he's been gone, what do you think? What do you think? What do you think? And the thing that I say all the time, if the coach will play him, he will score. I promise. And I feel so good because the coach in China is playing him, and I think he dropped 70-something
73.
the other night.
73. But here's the problem. We gave up 75.
Hey, what I said is true. If the coach will play him, he will score.